welcome patrons to the bonus round. That's right, this is Multiplayer. It's extra content show just for you guys for donating that buck. We would like to say thank you, and thanks for joining us.
Hey.
Also, though, if you're seeing this on YouTube, well, you found out. This is actually a weekly timed video, so that means that it comes on every other Friday on Patreon first for our Patreon members, or patrons, and then it comes on YouTube, iTunes, and Google Play a week after that. So every other Friday, weekly exclusive, every other Friday on YouTube. So whether you donate or not, thank you for joining us, and we've got quite the topic today.
We do indeed, sir.
We do. Yes, I'm excited.
Yes.
We're going to be throwing a little bit of shade at some franchises here.
Shade on the bonus round.
Yeah. We came off of the last episode talking about Call of Duty World War II. There's so many of these games.
Infinite World War II fair.
Yeah. We came off of that. The beta is released, and you know we're both pretty much sick of it. And I think that this whole thing, it needs to die. This franchise needs to die. And like, there's a bunch of games that are going through this like streak of like yearly releases, and even less so than that. I mean, like, we'll get into that a little bit later. But talking right first, franchises that need to die
or being reinvented.
Yeah, sure.
Because that's, you know, I hate seeing a series die just because, you know, behind every game there's a team of people developing that game. And, you know, I don't want a series to die just so these people are, like, out of work.
Well,
it's like,
okay,
it could be...
yeah. But it's not like EA's going to, you know, or Infinite Ward is going to stop, or Treyarch are going to stop making games. It's just
right, but you'll have something where it's like EA or Activision or one of these... it's typically the bigger guys where it's like, or Sony, they'll be like, oh, that game didn't sell well. Okay, we're going to stop making that series. And that... You're closed. You know, that developer's closed now.
All right. Well, like, if we start getting into like the empathetic, like,
well, you know,
like, no, I don't want them to die either now.
Yeah.
Show's over, guys. I changed my opinion.
So it's like, it's one of those things. It's like, you know, if they do stop, like, if they kill off that series, hopefully those guys will like in a perfect world, they'll just like be able to make what they want to make next.
Sure.
So let's just go with that perfect world
yeah,
scenario.
Exactly. But the thing is too, like, I mean, we have Call of Duty. We have like it's up in at least, I would have to say, at least the teens, if not like 20 games.
Yeah, I haven't checked those numbers. I would say they're probably 20 games.
I feel like we don't need to check it. That's a fact. Like, everyone knows it. If you have to like sit back and go, oh my god, how many were released that year? Then there's just too many games.
Yeah, because it's like, you know, you have your iteration every year on consoles, but there's mobile spin-offs. There's been a couple handheld versions as well. So it's like, once you start, and I think there were a couple weird ones for like the Wii, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So it's like, once you start adding it all up, it's got to be like 20-ish games.
Well, I mean, that's the same thing for like Assassin's Creed as well.
Yeah.
I mean, like they're just coming out with the new one, Assassin's Creed Origins, which is the fourth one to come out, right? It's like four, because there's Assassin's Creed 1, and there's 2, which is in Italy, and there's 3, which is like the boat. Oh, there's 4. No, this is 5. Oh my god, see what I'm saying? But that's already a fault to the game itself.
But then you have things like you had Assassin's Creed Syndicate and Unity.
Syndicate was the other one. That was the other one. Yeah.
But then you have Black Flag. Black Flag I guess was 4, but then you had Assassin's Creed Rogue, which was like
4.1. And then you had Assassin's Creed. Like, then you had all of the other ones.
And Javier and I looked that up one day, and I can't remember the number because it was a couple months ago, but that was like in the 20s. Once you add up all the versions of Assassin's Creed plus like the mobile games plus the portable games, it was like 23 games or something crazy.
I guess we should probably talk about that too. Javier's not here today.
He died.
No. Well, he's currently being resurrected by a necromancer, but that's a whole other story and maybe another Patreon video itself as well. Yeah. But he's not here with us today. Just like in the last episode, he is taking a sabbatical, has some family in town, or he's doing some illegal things. I'm not one to say, but he also can defend himself. Exactly. But no, it's just us two today. But yeah, so going back into that. But okay, so you have Assassin's Creed, you have Call of Duty, you have like the whole sports franchises, which are like, it's inevitability because like, you know, you have to not reinvent, but update, you know, because like players have gone to different teams and like new coaches, yada yada. But like between these games, not much change is happening. I mean, like now they're going as far as to be like, oh, now the crowd is completely diverse and they like chant organically, you know, they respond to your player choice. Like, but that's not, you know, like it's nothing part of the gameplay.
Yeah, it's little touches here and there more than anything.
However, conversely, on the opposite end of the spectrum, you have video games or franchises that died way before their time. I mean, recently there was a leak. Well, let's do this in order. Half-Life was a huge game for PC, huge, and it really broke a lot of not records, but like introduced a whole new way of playing FPSs, and introduced some new game mechanics and stuff like that. It was pretty revolutionary for the time,
for sure. And its way of storytelling and whatnot.
Right.
It's just there was a lot of good things in that game that people obviously to this day they want a Half-Life 3 because those games are so damn good.
And it's the thing, so they did Half-Life, they did Half-Life 2. I think they had 2 episodes for that game. It was like episode 1, episode 2.
Well, you had Half-Life 2, and then you had the 2 episodes after that. Yeah.
And so people have since Half-Life 2 episode 2 came out. Like I think the last iteration was for the orange box, which was like 2006.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
Sounds about right.
Yeah, and so people have been dying, like hardcore fans of that game, and like it's got a huge, not just cult following, but a huge fan base in general. And they've been begging for a Half-Life 3 or an Episode 3 just to kind of round out the story. And, recently why this has become relevant again is because the writer for Half-Life 2, he was kind of had a falling out with the company. He's not with them anymore, with Valve. And he leaked kind of like the plot of Half-Life Episode 3 on his blog in a way that was like more... It wasn't written like, this is what happens, there. He changed the name of the characters to like, for legal reasons. But then he also introduced the story in a very like, this is a letter from a soldier, like a war letter. Yeah. And that's how he kind of like established, which is an interesting and unique way to do it.
Yeah.
My point of bringing that up though is that now Half-Life is back in the limelight, and Valve is probably not going to make this game.
It ain't happening.
Right. But the fact is that like, why are these franchises like Half-Life or hell, even Banjo-Kazooie, which like Banjo 3E was supposed like the biggest reveal like in the end of Banjo 2E. But what did we get? We got nuts and bolts. Yeah. Microsoft bought out Rare, and then they just like they murdered my childhood before my eyes.
Poor Banjo-Kazooie.
But we have these franchises that are now they've died out, and they're probably not going to get any sequels. However, you have the Assassin's Creed 75 and Call of Duty 3300, another war to be fought. Like God, like how long are we gonna go into this trend, and like what needs to happen in terms of like the consumers to like say, hey, we're not gonna pay for this same game with a different skin now.
Well, I mean that's the thing. They're gonna keep making them until they stop selling well.
I know.
That's gonna be
and
like
they're doing great
Call
numbers
of Duty.
Too. They're doing great numbers.
Call of Duty year over year is the best-selling game of the year. Year over year.
So ridiculous.
So it's like, why would they change up the franchise, or why would they stop making it when it's like, I mean, that's like Activision's, it's one of their biggest
Show
games.
Pony. Yeah.
It's just like they're making so much money off those to the point that they have 3 different studios developing those games.
There's a Sledgehammer, Treyarch, and Infinity Ward.
Yeah. So those are 3, and so every year they're like on a 3-year cycle, but
they took a year off recently. They had a year hiatus, yeah?
No, not
No,
Call
that
of
was
Duty.
Assassin's Creed. Assassin's Creed had a year hiatus. And they didn't really utilize that.
But technically, those 3 studios on a 3-year cycle. But it's just like there's one every year because they, that's how it's set up.
The only thing that is good about the way that Activision does it is that when they do release these games, because they have 3 different branches, in control, and they have like their own like 3-year cycle, essentially a 2-year turnover for each of these games. Each company, each branch itself has 2 years to make a game because it's in a constant cycle. Whereas, and like when those games come out, they are polished, they are finished. Maybe the content is like up in the air, like for depends on who you ask, if it's like worth the price point. Me personally, not, but it has the content, it's there. But it's not broken. It's a finished game.
Yeah, no. I mean, it's like on paper, they're technically sound. When it comes to like Twitch-based shooters, I mean, it's one of the biggest out there for a reason, because it is well polished and refined, and it's just like you're going to be able to jump into those games if you're a Call of Duty fan,
right?
And you're going to feel right at home.
But the other end of the coin, you have Assassin's Creed, which come out like Unity had like bugs and bugs and bugs. It was like,
at least I think they've patched a lot of that, and it's better.
They have, but
it
if
was
you're going
a
to
big
release a
running
game,
joke when,
yeah,
when it
if
came
you're going
out.
to release a game in a year, like, don't give me something that I'm going to have to wait for a patch in order to fix. Like, that's not, I bought a product, So that's my point. Like, so like another fault of these franchises that I feel like should die or should reinvent themselves is they're pushing these out, and it's all for a monetary gain. There's not really any, like, they're not trying to break new ground with their games. They've already pretty much like, all right, we found the niche, and we're just gonna barely build on that.
Yeah,
we'll add a new
it'll basically
zone,
like
new
it's
place.
like Assassin's Creed. They'll be in like a new location or something, but it's like it's the same gameplay, and there's still that just big mess of a storyline. I don't know what is going on there.
But then you have other franchises too, like Zelda, which is also 20 games in at plus. Like I think it's like 23, 26 games in, and that's across like mobile devices such as like the Game Boy Advance, the Game Boy Color, Game Boy, and then also through all the consoles, their home consoles. But this game itself is, while they recently, of course, they did a huge overhaul and went back to their roots with Breath of the Wild.
Yeah.
But before that, it was just, there were, slight iterations of deviations of the original like gameplay and mechanics. Like you still got you maybe got different items and upgrades and stuff like that. But what set those games apart was every single new game, at least new console, well, no, both. New console game, new mobile game, they had a new art direction. They had a new mechanic, whether it be like a music base like Ocarina, that now you were having to use that in your quests and you had to collect songs, which like time travel, or you had Wind Waker where the whole world was flooded and now you have the ship mechanic, so they add those things, it breathes new life into the game, and it definitely justifies the price point.
Yeah, and it definitely like each of those games, while the stories will be very similar, and this goes for like Mario too, or it's like the story will feel. It'll feel very similar story-wise. The mechanics will be pretty similar for the most part. Things like Zelda, it's like up until Breath of the Wild, it's like, okay, so you're going to have X amount of dungeons. And
exactly.
You're going to get a weapon in that dungeon, then you're going to fight the boss with that weapon, then you're going to get a piece of something, and then you're going to go to the next thing. And
piece of pie. You get a piece of pie, you go and you find a new dungeon.
And then you put all the pie pieces together, and then
you save a broad.
But so
that should be our next Patreon. It's just, we all thought like this. It's just the guys, talk about fucking video games.
Hey yo, welcome to Two Guys.
Two guys and a controller.
I'm guy number 2.
I'm guy number 1. All right. No, but yeah, sorry to start.
We're guys talking about pies.
we've derailed. I love it. But yeah. So sorry. Continue with your Zelda.
So it's like it has a lot of the same mechanics, but those games feel very different, and it's mostly because they're always trying to introduce something new to those games. Things like the ship and Wind Waker and stuff like that. And then the art direction always seems to be vastly different from the one.
To a point of polarizing effect for the fans. Like, I mean, Wind Waker, when that came out and it was very cel-shaded and it was like cartoony, people were like, what the fuck is this? And others really embraced it. It was like, wow, this is a completely wholly new direction. Then they went to Twilight Princess right after Wind Waker, which was like really dark and very realistic and looked great. And it was just like, I mean, just to have those two games side by side is amazing.
Yeah, and then even staying a little closer to Twilight Princess, you have
Skyward?
A Skyward Sword, which is more like, it had like a watercolory kind of pastel
sort of washed out.
Which I think they did a lot of that because of their limitations.
Sure.
I mean, I think that's probably most Zelda games. But it's something where it's like they tried to use it to their advantage to make something feel different and play different, and they're and even that was like different because of just the control scheme and trying to use motion controls to use.
But they also introduced, now you're in a world. Your hub world is in the clouds. You have to fly to new locations. It didn't really necessarily work very well. It wasn't very fun. They didn't really do as much as they could have with that. But the point is that they introduced a whole new aspect. And I mean, now you look at sticking with the Zelda franchise, you go back to the 64 generation, and yes, you have Ocarina of Time and you have Majora's Mask, and they were both made in the same
engine. Basically had the same characters in the village, all that kind of stuff.
Exactly. And it had a year turnover. You know, Majora's Mask, Nintendo gave them a very strict deadline for a year, and they did it. But here's the thing: even though that those two are still in the same engine and they're pretty much like very identical in look, the feel of the game is completely different.
Like Majora's Mask is such a weird game. It's
very
like dark. It's
very
eerie.
mature,
It's just. It's a strange game, especially if you're a kid playing that and you're like, what is going on in this game?
Yeah, it's very atmospheric and it's like maudlin a lot.
Yeah.
You know, I really enjoy it, but like even the base mechanic of time travel. You know, like in the first one, you take out the sword in Ocarina of Time and you're 7 years into the future and you see the difference in landscape there. Awesome. You have Majora's Mask where you don't age, you don't go into older Link, but now you have this 3-day time limit that you have to contend with and deal with and manage as well. So it's like things like that. Call of Duty, Assassin's Creed, Gears of War. None of these franchises are doing anything like that. At least to me, it doesn't seem like.
I'm pretty much in the same boat where they're just they're not kind of reinventing themselves in each iteration of their game.
Mm-hmm.
At least doesn't feel like it to me. You know, even something like Uncharted, those games feel very similar in a lot of ways, but it feels like each iteration of that game they try and add these like new mechanics and do something a little more with it. Where it's like the fighting mechanics from 2 to 3 had a big overhaul.
Sure.
You know, in every game they're trying to up themselves as far as like the storytelling goes and making it feel more cinematic and the locations feel vastly different game to game.
Sure.
And
it's funny that you mentioned that franchise too, because like they're really, to be honest, even though they did a real overhaul to the game mechanics themselves, it's not a huge difference. Like you're not seeing like a great change in like how you play the game. However, the reason at least that I feel it really works very well is because those are such cinematic experiences that it feels like it's just the sequel movie. Like it feels like now you're watching like Temples of or Raiders of the Lost Ark was the last one, and now you're watching Temple of Doom. Like so that's how it kind of feels. So like you don't really necessarily need a whole new reinvented gameplay mechanic. You should. I mean, like they should still try to refine their product, but because the story is so like epic, like you just get lost in that, and I think it works for that game. But I mean, like campaign wise, what are these other games doing?
Well, there's definitely some years of Call of Duty's campaign that while you're still just like you're just some dude bro running around shooting stuff,
right?
They try and do something with it that's a little different year over year, where it's like
Black Ops is like that.
Yeah, well, and you have like Black Ops going into something like, and granted, it's 3 different studios making 3 different games, but it's like, you have Black Ops going into something like Infinite Warfare, where it's a very different kind of game as far as the story goes, but at the end of the day, it's like the mechanics outside of like wall running and stuff feel very similar,
Right. It's like you can only shove so many things into one game before it's just like, what am I doing anymore? Like
you're wall running.
This is the game. Call of Duty wall run. Infinite wall run.
Infinite wall.
There are no ground. It's all walls.
All walls.
Balls to the wall. Excitement. No. Okay, so let's think. What are some franchises besides Zelda and Mario, of course, that you think really help they reinvent themselves and they do very well? I think Mario Kart is another really good one.
Yeah. For sure. It's like, it's very, obviously it's the same mechanics game to game, but they're always trying to one-up themselves. So they, it's like in Mario Kart 8, I mean, it's like you're going upside down, you're going through water, it's like you're
riding on walls.
You're riding on walls, it's wall riding. You're the wall ride. I'm trying to think of some other good examples. Do you have any off the top of your head?
I mean, besides Mario Kart, and like Uncharted, I think does a really good job. Yes, they reinvent the story because they reinvent the story and they try to get a new thing.
I'd say
at the top of my head.
Yeah, I would say like BioShock's a good one for me. From like, obviously BioShock 1 and 2 are they're very similar, but when they jump from like 2 to 3, and those are actually different studios too, because it's like Irrational didn't make.
Irrational made all 3.
No, 2K made the second one.
Oh, they did.
Yeah.
You're right. Yeah, they did.
So, but
They
I
did.
actually really like the second one. A lot of people,
I
seem
don't
to
remember
give
very
that game
much.
hate.
Yeah,
I love
mean,
the
I
second
don't
one.
hate it. I remember really enjoying it, but I remember liking 1 much better.
Yeah, I mean the story was better in the first one, but I think the mechanics were really
They polished it out.
in
Yeah,
the
for
second
sure.
one, and I like playing as the Big Daddy.
Well,
but,
the last game of that Infinite came out what 2013.
Yeah,
13.
2013 is when BioShock Infinite came out, and obviously it's very different games. It's like one's in the ocean, one's in the sky.
Yeah.
And so, it's.
I would like to see another sequel of that one. That's a great call.
Yeah, I would. But I'd love to see where they go with that series from here. It's like, you're just gonna, you did one in the ocean, one in the sky. You're just gonna be on just regular,
land.
just regular land.
And it's gonna be like mind blowing because like they've never done this before. But it's
What
like
is
every other
this,
game.
land? They're going to the moon.
Oh, space. Actually, I think it was it BioShock? Oh, the first BioShock was supposed to be set in space. It was supposed to be in a space station.
Was it?
Yeah, and then they kind of like toyed around. This was like in the very early like alpha stages of the game.
That was basically just System Shock at that point.
Well, that's what that's what it is. It's like a System Shock 2 like spiritual
Yeah.
successor, and then they wanted it to be in space. They're like, you know what, Atlantis. Like,
Ocean.
yeah. Oh shit, ocean. No, and I think that there's also a game, man, and I'm gonna blank on the name, and it's gonna make me so mad. But it recently came out. Prey. People are saying Prey. This isn't the game, but Prey. People are saying that game is very close, a spiritual successor to the BioShock series, which I really want to play because of that very reason. But there's another game, even before Prey. It's an indie game, and it was set in space, and it had like the same aesthetics as Rapture from the first game, like the same kind of 40s and 50s like kind of architecture and stuff, like kind of the golden age, and it looked really cool, and people were saying like that was a true successor to that game. But I would really like to see Irrational get behind the helm and do another one.
Well, I mean, they're not around anymore. It's like they got disbanded a couple years ago. So they have,
Why?
Yeah, I'm sorry.
They did so well.
They got disbanded.
Did they make any other games besides
Ken
BioShock?
Levine. Well, they did like System Shock and.
Well, yeah, but
whatnot,
besides that, like, were they making anything
not
like
off the top of my head.
coinciding with BioShock?
But yeah, Ken Levine just wanted to do something else. He disbanded and started like a smaller studio, and they're doing something new. I can't remember what it is off the top of my head.
Ken Levine, by the way, if anyone isn't privy to that, is the writer and creative director of all the 3 BioShocks. Wait, did he do 2? Did he do 2?
No.
He probably did 2.
That's 2K.
He didn't do 2. 2K did 2. Yeah, I and I go back to this too because like, god damn it, Banjo-Kazooie was one of my favorite games of all time, and I really want. And Banjo-1, amazing. Banjo-Kazooie was great. Banjo-Tooie, even better. They really took that game to another level. They had a whole new open world, a hub system. Which was much grander on scale because you're outside of Grantilla's castle now, or at her lair. And then they introduced like a new a new mole guy who's going to train you different,
A new mole guy.
Yeah.
They said that right on the box.
New mole guy. And you shoot grenades out your ass. It's great. That game is so much fun. But and then they hinted Banjo 3, and it was supposed to be a game that came to the GameCube. It didn't. Rare was bought out by Microsoft, and they made nuts and bolts. I think that a dream, like fucking talk about a warp pipe dream, man. That is a game I want to see remade, and they tried to with Ukulele, like but
it's like
crashed
you
and burned.
need the backing of like a big company like Nintendo, Xbox, or something like that, where it's just like, man, I would love to see a new Banjo-Kazooie game, even if it's on. I would pick up an Xbox One right now if I knew a Banjo 3E was coming.
But like an actual legitimate, not a nuts and bolts situation.
Yeah, no.
Oh, I completely agree. I would do that too, and I would probably, just because it's coming out, I would buy the Scorpio to play that. Even though it doesn't necessarily need it, I want to see everything. I want to see the feathers ruffle on Kazooie.
Yeah, you need that 4K fur.
I know. Fuck, Microsoft, if you did this, I'm not kidding. You have 2 more customers right there off the bat. Seriously. I think honestly, a lot of Rare games should have gotten. I wish Rare was still around. That wasn't the actual Rare.
Yeah.
I would have loved to see another Conquer come out, especially with like using the pop culture references of our movies today. Like I think that they would have a lot of like satirical reference to pull from.
For sure.
I think that, geez, what is another? I'm blanking on like other Rare. I think Viva Pinata, even that game. And I know that was like the later years of Rare when they were with Microsoft, but like Viva Pinata 1 and 2, was so fun. Did you ever play that game?
No.
Really addicting.
It was a 360 game, and
it was really addicting, and I think that even that was like it was such a brand new concept. I mean, like it was definitely an iteration of something that already existed, but it was just such a different look on it. And I loved it a lot.
For sure.
How about you? Any warp pipe dreams for this?
Oh,
It's like if you've gunned ahead, man,
I just wish Nintendo would make a new Earthbound game. That's what I really want.
That is not a bad. Not a bad idea.
Like I want like a 3D Earthbound game. Kind of, give me a world kind of like Ni no Kuni or something like that to roam around in. And
there's definitely the audience for it too. That is a huge following.
Oh yeah, dude, people. Earthbound is so big that when they finally released Earthbound on the virtual channel, it crashed Nintendo's servers. It got downloaded so much.
That's so crazy.
Their entire site and everything went down.
And the funny thing is, like, Nintendo, I don't know why, but for some reason they don't like to listen to their fans sometimes.
They hate money.
Right. And so it's like they have that audience. They should do it. One thing that, they did finally listen was we're finally getting a Metroid Prime 4.
Yeah, which is great.
So.
We don't know who's developing it. But
we don't know when it's coming out either. It went TBD.
Yeah, so who knows?
Well,
maybe one day it'll come out.
Yeah, I think that'll be, especially with all the time that's been passed between the two games. I think that'll be like a really unique take, and I'm excited to see it. But that's about it, man. Yeah. That's hopefully. I don't know. Hopefully, our dreams will come true in the coming years, and we'll get all those games we want. And maybe Call of Duty will see this video. Activision will see.
I doubt it. I doubt they care what we have.
Share this video so Activision will know. Stop making the same game. We're not gonna stand for it.
Everybody else will buy it, but
but these two people know, and also people who are watching this as well, probably.
Yeah, Activision's like, we're fine with that. We'll just keep making money. You guys are a joke.
Well, go fuck yourself, Activision. Taking a hard stance right now. No, guys, thank you so much. That was our show. Really appreciate you sticking around with us. And like always, we're coming out with these videos every other Friday. Depending on which Friday, you're either getting this on Patreon or you're getting this on YouTube or iTunes or Google Play. And we also have our regular episodes scheduled every Thursday just for you guys. Seriously, please, come back anytime. Watch all our old episodes. Watch new episodes again because you know what? We love seeing you around. Next time we'll have Javier around, except you'll be out of the...
I might be. We'll see.
Might be.
Yeah.
If you're feeling up to it, you're like, I don't know how I feel about today.
I think I'm going to be too busy for the shoot next week, but we'll see.
Okay. So we might have a guest spot. Who knows? But stick around to see that, and we will see you next week. But before we let you go, we'd like to say a special shout out to DJ CUTMAN for letting us use that amazing chiptune 8-bit music. We love it, and if you want to hear more from him, you can always check out his website at djcutman.com. But besides that, guys, you know the deal. Instagram, Twitter, at Grow Multiplayered, and you can follow our personal pages there. But hey, if you want to know what our personal pages are, you should go back to our old video and see what we said there. All right, guys, thank you so much for watching. We'll see you next week on the bonus round.
See ya!
On behalf of Multiplayer, Mario would like to send a special thank you to Jaden Lawrence, Arturo Mendera, Mercedan Kroll Pitaru, and Mario Dorado. Thank you so much for watching.